Hey, salutations, everyone. I had to come back at you once again to do one of my reaction videos. This is actually like the very first, or I don't know if it's going to be my first and last, or my first among many. I don't know. But I've been talking about the Country Wayne skits and contemplating on whether or not I wanted to do any reaction videos or reviews on these skits. I've been watching them for a minute now, and I've had a couple of content creators that I interview with in the past. Shout out to O'Neill TV. Make sure you subscribe to him, and also Deontay's Reviews. Make sure you subscribe to his channel as well as all the other Country Wayne content creators that have done reviews. Make sure that you check them out. Also, I've had DC, Daryl DC Chambers on here. Shout out to him as well. He has blessed the platform, and he's one of the actors that was one of the actors on the Country Wayne skits that has his own separate storyline from this one. And also shout out to Emery Lawrence because, like I said before, he has done and had made a few appearances on these skits as well as Amber's ex love interest when they had that trip to California, and he and Amber had did some reconnecting at that time. So shout out to all of those individuals as well. So those who may not follow the skits. They may not understand the storyline in full, but in this particular skit, I think that it's necessary to have a deeper discussion in this particular storyline where the character Roan, played by, I think you're familiar with Saronis. What is his last name? I forgot. He's the actor that Insecure, Saronis Jones, I think his name is. And then he is involved in a relationship with Piari. I don't know if that's a real name or not, but that's the co-star in the skit, and they're in a relationship where they just starting out. I really think that Rome should definitely um, consider the red flags and use more discernment, because one thing about Wayne's skits is like these male characters are written in, and originally they are very much stand-up men, they're very about, stand on business there, but then they become simps after a while, or they seem like they become spineless, at certain male characters. I noticed that they become spineless after a while. And so I'm hoping that Roan is not turning into that, because he is, very no nonsense, but he's also very considerate at the same time. Like, they both have their separate baggage, they separate issues, he and Piari. And so there was an incident that occurred where Piari and Roan, they took a trip and they went hiking, and he bumped into an ex-girlfriend, and he did not handle it too well. And so Piari felt some kind of way because they were reminiscing, and he asked about her family because they have a history. So he asked about the parents and all that good stuff. So they had this conversation, and then it took Piari to introduce herself as his girlfriend, and he did not do that. He did not introduce her, and he did not break the ice in that way. So she felt some kind of way, which is understandable, right? So instead of addressing that with him in an adult way, she decides to ghost him for 5 days. Not responding to his calls or texts, not reaching out to him, not communicating at all with him for 5 days. But y'all supposed to be in a relationship, right? Y'all supposed to be growing, but you're supposed to, communication. We always speak about how important communication is in a relationship, but you don't practice what you preach here. So, instead of specifying how she felt at that moment, she decides to ghost him and say that she needs space instead of just letting him know what's going on. And so there was a skit where Roan came to after the 5 days. Roan went to her home, to make sure everything was okay, and also address the fact that he hasn't heard from her in 5 days, and wonder what was going on and what happened. You couldn't, just reach out to me. And so she was saying that she needs space, and he was not aggressive. He spoke in a way that he had to assert himself enough to where he was able to get his point across, and wonder what was going on as to why he hasn't heard from her. And this her friend Shayla the Barracuda that we speak, like I said, if you listen to our the interviews that I've had, and you know what I'm talking about when it comes to Shayla. She was there, and of course she had to assert herself. And so Rome was like, I got a quick question. Who's talking to you? which was real funny to me, because it was the way he delivered that line. It was so epic. But he mind you, there was a double team of these two women against this one man, but just because he's tall in stature, he has some bass in his voice, so automatically they're accusing him of being aggressive, accusing him of being intimidating and threatening, and he was nothing of the sort. He was just expressing his issues with Piari, and as to why she chose to handle um, her grievances with him the way that she did, right? And so there was another skit where Piari and Ron were addressing the incident, and she talked him into apologizing to Sheila for questioning, like, okay, this has a, questioning who's talking to you, and just kind of reminding her that this has nothing to do with her. But she always asserts herself to other people's. This is nothing new to Sheila. She always got to assert herself into matters that doesn't concern her, right? So this is what she does. And so Piari felt the need to tell Roan to apologize to her, and Roan stood his ground at first by specifying, well, why should I have to apologize? I don't think I said anything wrong to her. And it's always this bootlicking going on when it comes to Shayla. Like, she has is not only Piari, but there's a few other girls, other women within the circle that seems like they always enable Shayla, and they always up Shayla's behind for whatever reason. It's all about Shayla, the victim. But and somehow she feels that Shayla is owed this apology from Rome, who did nothing wrong, by the way, who said or did nothing wrong. And I wish I could just kind of play all the clips at once, but I can't do that. But I'm gonna leave the link in the description box so you kind of get like a idea. Like, maybe you could binge watch a few of the episodes to know what I'm talking about. But I'm just trying to give a backstory as to the lead up to what I'm responding to. Um, so Piari felt like Rose should apologize for how he came across to Sheila in a threatening manner, and how he came across as so scary and intimidating. And but Rome, challenges Piari and saying, well, did you address this with her and how she came across? She's going through some stuff. There's always an excuse for her. You know, is always an excuse as to what Sheila does and how she comes across. And this is the same person, like, Sheila wants to accuse him of being aggressive and coming, but it's the same Sheila who came into Piari's home as the Transylvanian devil several months ago, where she was looking for Anthony, trying to get Anthony to come back home with her because he was staying with Piari at the time where he and Amber were separated. This is the same one that came in as a Transylvanian devil after her. And after Anthony, and just acting crazy, sleeping in the car overnight until Anthony came out, waiting on him in Piari's driveway. The same person that always aggressive when Anthony comes over to see their son together, to the point where she threw things at him, um, physically attacked him. But see, all that is okay because she's a woman, right? That's what I'm getting to. All this is okay because it's a double standard. Because a woman could act aggressive, they could curse a man out, they could do all kind of things because they're because they're a woman. A woman, are allowed to do these type of things. They're able to get a pass, right? And so the next skit, which I don't know, Rowan agrees to apologize to Sheila for whatever reason. And so but she's still 10 toes down to some degree, even in the apology to her, saying, I can own up to my mistakes as a man, or how I came across. And even though he didn't come across any kind of way, but to satisfy Sheila, of course, in her delusional mind, everyone is just at her feet, at her, so I guess to make things right with Piari, he gave in and decided to apologize to her for how, and then here goes Sheila emphasizing the fact that he was so aggressive and the way you came across, you was so scary, and because I'm a woman, and Rome was like, well, oh, because you're a woman, you get a pass, and then it came up about the fact that he was emotional, and so Shayla had something to say about that, and Ron clacked back into saying, "Well, because I'm a man, I'm not allowed to have emotions because of my stack, because of my physique, and because I'm a man, I'm not allowed to be emotional. I'm not allowed to react a certain kind of way, you know, because if I'm feeling some kind of way about you, because I feel like in overall in a relationship, it's like, and I think that as women, we kind of get that whole with men, the issue with us is that there are times where when we communicate our feelings to you, you always automatically assume that we're either nagging or we're being aggressive. So can you imagine with a man, when they come across a certain kind of way to express their feelings towards you about something, it's going to come across as abusive, or it's going to be perceived a certain kind of way. Because I think about how most people interact with me, they automatically assume that I'm being aggressive when I'm not, and so I could even only imagine how it might be, how it might come across as a man. So I'm just glad that they wrote this type of dialogue into the script, into these skits, so we can have a deeper dive into this. But I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of backstory of the storyline itself, and so and how Sheila, felt the need to assert herself, and Rowan had the right to respond, but yet he's the one that's being scrutinized for how he delivered his message. So I'm just going to just play this real quickly. Let me see if I can let me try to see if I can maybe possibly edit the playback, because I don't want any issues with any copyright issues. So let me try to see if I can. Let's see. Playback speed. I'm gonna just speed it up just a little, if I can. All right, but here we go.
What's up, babe?
Yo,
Yo,
I'm sorry.
you okay?
Yeah, just trying to pick something on.
Baby, I know you not still tripping about Shayla.
I mean, but I'm just not her biggest fan. So
You gotta get over that. I mean, she just was trying to stand up for me. That's it. You gotta understand that.
I don't like what she was implying. Matter of fact, I don't like what both of y'all were implying.
What do you mean?
I just want to pause it right quickly, right there, where she said that she was standing up for her. Again, why do you feel the need to have someone be your guard dog or stand up for you? I mean, Shayla is in no position to stand up for anyone because she can't even stand her own. So the thing is that what if the roles are reversed and a man was to chime in between them, or is he allowed to defend his friend, and his male friend is saying that he was just defending me or standing up for me, or would he be a punk and saying that, oh, you're a grown man, you need to speak up for yourself? So, and I just don't like how it seemed like Piari is trying to force this, um, they're trying to force this so-called bond with Sheila, and it's like, he doesn't really need to have anything to do with her. And well, Rome doesn't even have, well, honestly, Rome doesn't even have anything to do with Piari either, but let's just continue.
Y'all using words like intimidating, y'all using words like aggressive, y'all using words like, you know, um, talking about like, or y'all talking about like my size and everything, like I was gonna harm somebody. You know what I'm saying?
No, but baby, you did come in very aggressively.
He did.
What's very aggressively?
He did not.
You came in hot. You came in being loud,
Was
unannounced.
I
I didn't even know
yelling?
you were
He was
here.
loud.
But you weren't answering your phone. We already established that I would have been announced. Just answer your phone. 1 + 1 = 2. If I was I yelling at you? Was I screaming?
You don't have to yell in order to be intimidating. You have a very deep voice. You're a big, tall man.
See, again, you see how, so it's like, so you knew he was a big tall man when you met him, Yari. He was a big tall man when you met him. He had the same voice. I'm sure his voice has changed since puberty. So when he's supposed to come, is he supposed to, like, every time he has an issue with you, he's supposed to bend down like this and be like, and he's supposed to express himself in a way that is not too intimidating and threatening towards you every time he has an issue? Does he have to speak to you in this tone of voice? I mean, really, is that how you want? Because either way, that's how he's going to come across. I mean, and so this really hits home for me as well, because can you imagine, like, if he is being accused of being aggressive, and like I said, if you look back at that video, look at the skit that they're addressing. He did not come hot. He did not come across threatening. But I understand it's about interpretation. I understand the perception. But we can all collectively agree that he did not come across any kind of way other than how a person would come across, when they asserting themselves, because you can expect to be taken seriously if you're going to be talking like this and you trying to be all soft and trying to be handled like kid gloves. It's not going to work, because can you imagine? Because like I said, I just know how it is for me. Even because even with my tone right now, someone might say something about it. And trust and believe they have, just by me speaking the way I'm speaking right now. That someone would accuse me of being aggressive. You know, they'd be like, "Oh, it's your tone." I just hear it all the time. They complain about my tone. It's your tone. It is how you say it. Because it's always about what you say. It's about how you say it, and not everyone is going to say things the way you want them to say it. I mean, I do understand you got to consider when your tone when you're speaking to someone, but sometimes your voice carries. I get very passionate at times, and you see how I talk with my hands. So that could be a form of aggression for some people. I mean, you can't please everyone, but in this case, it's just like you said, you got to be mindful of how you describe certain instances when it comes to a man, because I know how it is when it's being coming when I get the accusations about being aggressive and my tone. So can you imagine when a man expresses themselves a certain way towards a woman? That's automatically going to be some problem. So I'm so glad that this is being brought up.
So now, because of who I am as a person, it's automatically aggressive because I was holding you accountable for your actions?
No, the way that you were coming in, your tone, your body language, the way you tried to dismiss my friend, like all
Yeah,
of
your friend
that.
who had no business. I came in actually pretty normal, saying like, "What's up?" Like,
That wasn't normal.
It was. I was
Wasn't
actually,
nothing normal
and you
about
came
that.
at me. You came at me. You telling me I had to leave. You the only person who had hands put on them was me. You put your hands onto me to leave, and I try to separate.
Boom, right there. Another thing when it comes to use of the hands, you know, uh, uh, you know, it was okay for her to escort him out, which I understand. Like that alone, see, this is that incident alone would have been grounds for a breakup right there, or grounds for, you know, on Rome's behalf, because it's like, why you? First of all, why you making me leave if I have a legitimate concern about how you handle things? If you had an issue with me and you decide to ghost me for 5 days, and I'm trying to get answers and I'm trying to get to the bottom of it, and I'm addressing something with you, you make me leave, and then you have your barracuda of a friend stay behind, like as if he's the one that's problematic. That is crazy. But yet you could put hands on him to leave. And this goes back to the skit when I was talking about Sheila coming into Pari's home like the Tasmanian devil, trying to get Anthony to come back with her. And so the way he escorted her out, he had his hands up, as like, and like kind of like easing her back, easing her towards the door to make her leave. And he didn't have his hands on her. Now if he was to try to just guide her and just kind of just make her just go and just guide her to the door, that would have been a problem, because that's the first thing they asked. It was a few people that was aware of the situation, and the first thing they asked was, did you put your hands on her? Not it wasn't a question about how she acted, how Sheila conducted herself at that time. It was whether or not he put hands on her to escort her out the house. But in this case, in this scenario, Piari was allowed or was able to put hands on him to escort him out and make him leave, even though he had a legitimate concern about how things happened between them in regards to her lack of communication.
You see how you looking?
I think you are really reaching. Like you are doing the
Reaching?
most right
Did I
now.
touch you? Did I touch
Okay.
Shayla?
No.
You guys have to understand how dangerous it is for the words you guys use when you're talking about a man. Those words, if you talking about to some friends or some family and you like, he came in aggressive, he was intimidated me. You know how that makes me
You
look?
were. How does that make you look, Ron?
My thing is like, if you can't see how dangerous that is for a man, if you can't see the only person really in danger in that situation is me because of how y'all talking about me, I just, I don't see it. I just need some air right now.
Yeah,
Are you kidding me?
you should walk away. You should walk away for good, but that's
Wrong.
not going to happen. So yes, so I mean, and the so yes, so you see how that could be perceived, right? And the double standard that and don't get me wrong, trust and believe there are men out there who are very much aggressive. There are men out there who are very much abusive. They handle things in a childish manner. They are very, they have hot tempers. So yes, you do have to be very mindful of how a man handles certain situations. But in this case, Ron was not wrong in how he handled it. If you go back and look at that skit, I mean, like I said, maybe I could be wrong about the interpretation, but it's all about interpretation and and you see how Piari was so dismissive of how this whole thing made him feel and how he specified how dangerous it is to describe his demeanor as being aggressive and being intimidating, all those things, and being a tall black man that could lead to some problems, and that's how a lot of men get in trouble with the law because it's so easy for women to react a certain way and to describe a certain matter and over exaggerate it and cause the man to either get attacked by her brothers or whoever, her cousins or whatever, and just everything be blown out of proportion, or it could lead up to an arrest. So you just got to be mindful of how you have to be mindful who you deal with, the type of women. And don't get me wrong, like I said, as a woman, you got to be mindful of how a person, man or woman, responds to you or how they address you in a certain way. You got to be mindful of that. But as men, you got to be mindful as when you deal with a woman and you involve with them in a relationship. You gotta use your discernment and those red flags and be mindful of the pattern of behavior and how effective communication operates or lack thereof in this case. Because in this case, I think that he needs to be done with Piari because Piari's a bubblehead anyway. I never liked her. If you go back, like I said, if you look at the past episodes and how she comes across, especially when she drinks, that is a problem right there. So I think that until she's able to um, be one with herself, do some self reflection. Is until she's able to get some help for her drinking and overall mental health. She does not need to be, trying to get involved with anybody. And like I said, Ron, I'm sure he has his baggage as well, but I think that he has been making efforts to kind of make things work, even by apologizing to Sheila, like just, you know, taking the one for the team, so to speak. But I really wanted to make sure that I came on to address this, and hopefully, I don't know if y'all want me to continue to do reaction videos for the Country Wayne skits, but I really wanted to chime in on this one. I really had to say something, because I feel like I said, the double standard needs to stop when it comes to people, women playing the woman card. If you can't dish it out, if you can't take it, don't dish it out. If because this whole thing about you feeling like you could curse a man out, attack them, all the things that you don't want a man to do, don't do it to them, you know, and then cry about it later on, or try to act overly dramatic later on, saying that it's Yeah, saying that you're the one that's the victim here. No, there's no damsel in distress when you're the one that's poking the bear. And I know that when men, they were raised not to hit women, or not to go at argue with a woman. But argument it takes two to argue, like, and it's like you're gonna have conflicts here and there. And no, I don't condone unnecessary conflict. But if you're going to put yourself out there as a woman, you're going to get that in return, because men are fighting back nowadays. It's not going to be because most men don't want conflict. They don't want that type of heat on them. So if they trying to avoid it, don't push. Don't be poking. you know because then you don't want to know what the end result is going to be. It's not going to end well for you. So I just wanted to make sure that I, did my reaction, my perspective on this particular skit, because I think this is a discussion that needs to be talked about. So, um, so I thank you so much for tuning in. For those who tune in, and once again, have a good one.